The Last Stand at Europa. Captain Morgan Blackwood never imagined he'd spend Christmas Eve counting ammunition instead of celebrating with his family back on Earth. The harsh reality of their situation weighed heavily on his shoulders as he stood in the cramped command center of Outpost Europa 7, watching holographic displays flash endless warnings of their impending doom. The massive form of Jupiter loomed in the black sky beyond the station's frost-covered biodome, a cosmic reminder that humanity had ventured far beyond its intended boundaries. The gas giant's presence seemed almost mocking now, as if nature itself was questioning their audacity to establish outposts this far from home. "Status report, Pixels," Blackwood called out, massaging his temples in a futile attempt to ward off an approaching headache. "And please, for the love of whatever's holy on this frozen moon, tell me something good." Lieutenant Penny Pixels Martinez looked up from her console, her dark eyes bloodshot from 20 hours of continuous monitoring. "Sure thing, Cap. Want the bad news, the terrible news, or the oh God, we're all going to die news first?" "Surprise me," Blackwood replied, his voice carrying the weight of command even in their dire circumstances. "Well, the good news is we're all going to get really good at holding our breath," Pixels reported with a grim smile. "Life support's down to 48 hours at current capacity." She tapped her screen with mock flourish. "The better news is we won't have to worry about that because the Cricks will probably blow us to atoms in about 36 hours anyway." From his security station, Sergeant Marcus Tinsel Thompson snorted. "At least we won't have to worry about New Year's resolutions." The situation would have seemed comical if it weren't so desperately real. Europa 7, humanity's farthest military outpost and proudest achievement in deep space engineering, had become humanity's last stand in the outer solar system. The Cricks, officially known as the CCS Empire, had swept through the solar system like a cosmic vacuum cleaner, destroying or capturing everything in their path. Their massive bioorganic ships now hung in Europa's orbit like hungry vultures, waiting for the right moment to strike. Private First Class Joy Cookie Williams, their youngest crew member and eternal optimist, piped up from her engineering station. "Hey, at least we still have the emergency chocolate rations. And I'm pretty sure I can reprogram the food synthesizer to make something that tastes almost exactly like turkey, if you've forgotten what turkey actually tastes like." "Cookie," Blackwood sighed, "I appreciate your endless enthusiasm, but I'm not sure a last meal that tastes like recycled protein pressed into turkey shape is going to boost morale." "Speaking of boosting things," Pixels interrupted, her fingers flying over her haptic interface, "I'm picking up something weird on the long-range sensors. Either we're all hallucinating from oxygen deprivation already, or there's some kind of energy signature I've never seen before." Blackwood leaned over her shoulder, squinting at the readout. "Define weird." "Well, sir, remember those old stories about the northern lights on Earth? Imagine that, but in space, and with energy readings that make our quantum core look like a AA battery." Thompson moved to join them, his security officer's paranoia clearly triggered. "Could be a new Crick's weapon. They do love their flashy light shows before they kill you." "No," Pixels shook her head, her ponytail whipping back and forth. "This is different. The pattern's all wrong for Crick's tech. It's almost festive." "Festive?" Blackwood repeated flatly. "Lieutenant, if you're about to tell me that the ghost of Christmas past has come to save us all, I'm going to have to insist you share whatever you've been drinking." Before Pixels could respond, every alarm in the command center went off at once. Red warning lights bathed the room in a bloody glow as proximity sensors screamed their warnings. Something was approaching the station at impossible speed, something that hadn't been there a second ago. "Sir," Cookie's voice cut through the chaos, you're going to want to see this." Blackwood turned to the main viewport and, for the first time in his military career, found himself completely speechless. Through the crystalline ice above their heads, a light was approaching, not the sickly green of Crick's bioships or the harsh blue of human engines, but a warm, cheerful red that seemed to ripple and dance across Europa's frozen surface. Like Thompson said, his voice unusually quiet, "Call me crazy, but that looks an awful lot like." "Don't say it," Blackwood warned. "A flying sleigh." As the crew of Europa 7 watched in stunned silence, the mysterious object drew closer, its impossible light somehow cutting through the CCS blockade as if the most advanced alien warships in known space simply weren't there. And somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, they could have sworn they heard bells. The next few minutes in Europa 7's command center could best be described as organized chaos, if by organized you meant everyone shouting at once while Captain Blackwood tried to maintain some semblance of military protocol. "Pixels, I need readings on that thing yesterday." "Working on it, sir, but the sensors are having a mental breakdown. It's like trying to scan a rainbow made of quantum physics." Thompson, security status. "All weapons locked, but sir, it's not triggering any of our threat detection systems. According to our most sophisticated military hardware, we're being approached by approximately nothing." Cookie bounced in her chair, forgetting protocol entirely. "You don't think it's actually?" "If you say Santa Claus," Blackwood warned, "I'm putting you on waste recycling duty for a month." "Actually, sir," a new voice chimed in from directly behind them, "she's not far off." The entire crew spun around, weapons drawn, to face a sight that made absolutely no sense. Standing in the middle of their secure command center was an elderly man in what appeared to be a red and white environmental suit. His beard was white as Europa's snow, his eyes twinkled with barely contained mischief, and he was carrying a bag that seemed to bend space slightly around its edges. "Ho ho ho," the stranger said, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. "I'd appreciate it if we could skip the shooting part. Tends to put a damper on the holiday spirit." Workshop of Wonders. Thompson's security training kicked in first. "On your knees, hands where I can see them." The old man sighed. "Now, Marcus Thompson, is that any way to treat a guest? Especially after I went through all the trouble of bringing you that replica phase rifle you wanted when you were 12, though I must say, your current model is much more impressive." Thompson's jaw dropped. "How did you know about?" "Please," the man in red chuckled, "knowing what people want is rather my specialty. Just like I know that young Joy Williams there still keeps a stuffed penguin named Waddles under her bunk, or that Penny Martinez has been secretly working on a novel about space pirates." Pixels turned bright red. That's classified personal information." "Oh, everything's classified these days," the man said, walking around the command center as if he owned it. "Even poor Morgan here can't tell anyone about his collection of 20th century jazz records. Bad for the tough captain image, you see." For the next hour, Europa 7 supply room transformed into something that defied explanation. The mysterious visitor, who insisted they call him Nick, turned the austere military storage space into what he called his workshop, though to the crew it looked more like someone had stolen a room from a sci-fi movie and decorated it with tinsel. "So let me get this straight," Blackwood said, watching Nick pull impossible things from his bag, "your workshop can manufacture anything?" "Within reason," Nick replied, materializing what appeared to be a plasma rifle wrapped in candy cane stripes. "Though I do try to keep with the holiday theme. Makes it more festive." Cookie was practically vibrating with excitement as she examined the fabrication systems. "This is incredible. The molecular reconstruction matrices alone are centuries beyond anything we have. Are those quantum probability manipulators? And is that actually a tiny fusion reactor powered by peppermint?" "The girl knows her stuff," Nick beamed. "Though technically it's candy cane fusion, much more stable than peppermint. That was a rough Christmas back in 2157, let me tell you." As Nick worked, he explained his plan. The CCS Empire's greatest weakness, he revealed, was their absolute conviction in their technological superiority. They'd become so focused on detecting and countering advanced weapons that they'd lost the ability to recognize simpler threats, especially those disguised as holiday cheer. "Think about it," Nick said, pulling out what looked like a snow globe but hummed with enough energy to power a small city. They're looking for military-grade weapons, shield frequencies, quantum signatures. But what they're not looking for is Christmas presents, pixels finished, understanding dawning in her eyes. Exactly. Nick's eyes twinkled with tactical mischief. And I've got quite a few special deliveries planned for our friends up there. The workshop began producing an arsenal unlike anything the crew had ever seen. Quantum-entangled ornaments designed to disrupt the Crick's neural networks. Hyperspace candy canes that could rewrite their navigation systems. And most impressively, a special variant of Nick's famous self-replicating tinsel that had some very interesting effects on bioorganic hull materials. But how are we going to get these past their defenses? Thompson asked, examining what appeared to be a tactical combat wreath. The Cricks have the most advanced scanning technology in known space. Nick's smile widened. Tell me, Sergeant, have you ever wondered how I deliver presents to every child in the world in a single night? Before Thompson could answer, Nick pulled out a device that looked like a snow globe crossed with a star chart. As he gave it a gentle shake, the air around them seemed to ripple and fold. Quantum tunneling. Pixels gasped, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her skepticism. Close, Nick replied. I call it the Christmas spirit drive. It operates on a principle that the Cricks could never understand, the power of belief itself. You see, their rigid, logical minds can't process anything that doesn't fit their understanding of reality. So when something comes along that's powered by pure Christmas magic, they literally can't see it, Cookie breathed. Because they don't believe it's possible. Smart girl. Now, who wants to learn how to turn Christmas lights into a tactical defense grid? The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the crew helped Nick prepare his special deliveries. Cookie and Pixels worked on integrating their systems with Nick's impossible technology, while Thompson and Blackwood helped coordinate the tactical applications of their new festive arsenal. But it wasn't just about the weapons. Nick insisted on maintaining proper Christmas spirit throughout their preparations. The command center was soon decorated with holographic wreaths that doubled as sensor arrays. Combat stations were festooned with tinsel that could redirect energy weapons. Even the emergency rations were replaced with actual Christmas cookies that somehow contained all necessary nutrients while tasting exactly like home-baked treats. I still can't believe this is happening, Blackwood muttered, watching Cookie program combat maneuvers to sync with Christmas carols. That's exactly why it will work, Nick replied, adjusting something on his quantum fabricator. The Cricks believe they understand everything about how the universe works. But the greatest magic of Christmas isn't in the presents or the decorations, it's in believing in the impossible. As they worked, Nick shared stories that made the crew question everything they thought they knew about human history. Tales of Christmas miracles during humanity's darkest hours, of hope preserved through centuries of advancement, and of a workshop that had evolved alongside human technology while never losing its essential magic. You mean you were there during the first Mars landing? Cookie asked, wide-eyed. Who do you think made sure the oxygen recyclers kept working after that micrometeorite hit? Nick winked. Though I must say, getting the reindeer adapted to Martian gravity was quite the challenge. As their preparations neared completion, the crew gathered for a final briefing. The holographic display showed their tactical plan, a symphony of Christmas chaos that would either save humanity or go down as the most festive last stand in military history. Remember, Nick said, his jovial demeanor taking on a more serious tone, the Cricks think they understand war, but they've never experienced Christmas. They've conquered through fear and superior technology, but they've never faced the power of joy, wonder, and a well-placed quantum-entangled present. And if this doesn't work? Thompson asked, ever the pragmatist. Nick's eyes twinkled with that mysterious light that seemed to hold centuries of secrets. Sergeant, in all my years of delivering presents, I've learned one thing: there's no such thing as an impossible Christmas wish. Sometimes you just need a little help from Santa's workshop to make it come true. As the crew made their final preparations, alerts began blaring throughout the station. The Cricks were moving into attack position, their massive bioorganic ships forming an ominous constellation against Jupiter's vast face. "Well," Blackwood said, looking at his impossible ally, "I guess it's time to find out if Christmas magic trumps alien technology." Nick smiled, reaching into his bag one last time. "Captain, I think it's time we gave the Cricks a Christmas they'll never forget." Little did the alien fleet know, they were about to experience a holiday celebration that would change the course of the war, and perhaps the very nature of warfare itself, forever. Operation Christmas Miracle. "Attention Cricks vessels," Blackwood announced, trying to keep a straight face as he broadcast across all frequencies. "In accordance with Earth's most ancient and sacred traditions, we hereby offer you gifts." The CCS commander's response came back in its typical mix of clicks and electronic screeches, their universal translator struggling to convey both confusion and disdain. "Your attempts at deception are futile. We do not participate in primitive human customs." "Oh, but these are special gifts," Blackwood continued, watching as Nick's quantum-enhanced presence began teleporting themselves throughout the Cricks fleet. "Very special gifts indeed." "Sir." Cookie called out, barely containing her glee. "Package delivery is at 100%. Operation Stocking Stuffer is go." The first sign that something was wrong came when the Cricks' primary battleship began broadcasting, "Deck the hulls," on all frequencies. The second sign was when their supposedly impenetrable bioorganic hull started sprouting actual Christmas trees. What is happening?" The CCS commander's translator struggled to convey both anger and confusion. "Our systems are being corrupted by Christmas cheer." Nick's presence were working exactly as planned. Quantum-entangled ornaments disrupted the Cricks' neural networks, causing their highly organized fleet to break into chaos. Hyperspace candy canes rewrote their navigation systems, making their ships dance through space in increasingly festive patterns. And the self-replicating tinsel, it turned out that when you introduced festive, self-aware decorations to living ship hulls, the results were spectacularly destructive. "Look at their formation." Thompson marveled, watching the tactical display. They're flying in a reindeer pattern." "That would be the Carol-guided smart missiles," Nick explained, monitoring his workshop's output with satisfaction. "They're programmed to follow the melody. Right now, the fleet is being conducted through Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, in perfect harmony." But the Cricks weren't going down without a fight. As their primary systems succumbed to holiday cheer, their biological ships began adapting, attempting to evolve countermeasures against the festive assault. "Sir." Pixels called out, her fingers flying over her console. "They're trying to develop anti-Christmas antibodies. Their ships are starting to digest the tinsel." Nick merely smiled, pulling what looked like a gingerbread cookie from his bag. "And that's exactly what we were counting on. Cookie, would you do the honors?" Private Williams took the cookie and placed it in what appeared to be a modified quantum scanner. "Initiating Operation Sugar Plum now." The moment the Cricks ships began consuming the tinsel, Phase 2 of Nick's plan kicked in. The seemingly harmless decorations began multiplying exponentially, but now they were transforming into something else, strings of Christmas lights that pulsed with quantum energy. "You see," Nick explained as they watched the light show unfold, "the Cricks' greatest strength, their adaptive biotech, is also their greatest weakness. They're so focused on consuming and adapting to threats that they never stop to consider that sometimes a cookie is more than just a cookie." The effects were immediate and spectacular. As the ships attempted to process the tinsel, the transformed Christmas lights began networking themselves together, creating a massive, festive grid that linked the entire Cricks fleet in a dazzling display of holiday illumination. "Now comes my favorite part," Nick said, reaching into his bag one last time. He pulled out what looked like a simple Christmas tree star. The tree topper. Before anyone could ask what he meant, Nick pressed the star, and suddenly every Christmas light in the grid activated at once. The quantum energy pulses synchronized perfectly with "Carol of the Bells," creating a cascading wave of festive energy that transformed each Crick's ship into a spectacular Christmas display. "Their weapons are shutting down," Thompson reported, unable to keep the amazement from his voice. They're being turned into actual Christmas ornaments." Indeed, the mighty Crick's warships were undergoing a bizarre transformation. Their bioorganic hulls, now completely saturated with quantum-enhanced Christmas spirit, were reshaping themselves into massive, floating ornaments. The flagship, once a terrifying instrument of destruction, now looked like a giant, iridescent bauble complete with a sparkling ribbon on top. "This is impossible," the Crick's commander's voice crackled through their comms, their translator glitching between frequencies. "Our superior technology, being defeated by primitive Earth celebrations? How?" "That's the thing about Christmas," Nick replied, patching himself into the communication channel. "It's not about superior technology. It's about superior spirit. And speaking of spirit..." He gestured to Cookie, who activated their final surprise. The quantum grid of Christmas lights began playing a synchronized light show to Trans-Siberian Orchestra's Christmas Eve/Sarajevo December 24th, each pulse of music sending waves of transformative energy through the remaining Crick's ships. "Sir," Pixels reported, struggling to keep up with her readings, "the quantum field is affecting their neural networks. It's rewriting their basic programming." The Crick's crews, linked into their ship's neural networks, were experiencing something entirely new, their first Christmas. Through their bioneural links, they were being flooded with centuries of human Christmas memories, children opening presents, families gathering together, the joy of giving, the wonder of believing in magic. What is this sensation?" The Crick's commander's voice had lost its mechanical edge, sounding almost childlike in its wonder. "These emotions, these memories, they're beautiful. That, my friend," Nick said kindly, "is the Christmas spirit. And I think you'll find it's far more powerful than any weapon you've ever encountered." As they watched, the Crick's fleet settled into a peaceful orbit around Europa, their ships now permanently transformed into the largest Christmas light display in the solar system. The crews, their consciousness expanded by their first experience of Christmas joy, were sending out messages of peace, and requests for more Christmas cookies. "I don't believe it," Blackwood muttered, watching as centuries of intergalactic conflict were effectively ended by Christmas decorations. "We actually won. We saved humanity with Christmas." "Oh, we did more than that," Nick said, his eyes twinkling with their usual mischief. "We just gave the galaxy its first interstellar Christmas celebration. Though," he added with a chuckle, "I suppose this means I'll have to update my delivery route significantly next year." But their celebration was interrupted by a new alert from Pixels. "Sir, we're detecting massive quantum disturbances throughout the system. More Crick's ships are arriving, hundreds of them." "Reinforcements?" Thompson asked, reaching for his candy cane rifle. "No," Nick said, watching the new arrivals with a knowing smile. "I believe those would be party guests. After all, word travels fast when you're throwing the biggest Christmas party in the galaxy." As if to confirm his words, the new arrivals were already beginning to decorate themselves with quantum Christmas lights, their ships transforming into festive displays even without Nick's direct intervention. The Christmas spirit, it seemed, was contagious even across species. "Well," Cookie said brightly, already reprogramming the food synthesizers for an interstellar Christmas feast, "I guess we better start preparing for more guests. Anyone know how to make Christmas dinner for a few thousand aliens?" Nick's laughter echoed through the command center. "My dear, I think this is going to be the beginning of a whole new chapter in Christmas history. Now, who wants to help me explain the concept of stockings to a bioorganic hive mind?" Galaxy-wide celebration. News of Europa 7's miraculous victory spread through the solar system faster than quantum communications could carry it. The sight of the formerly terrifying Crick's fleet transformed into the galaxy's largest Christmas light show was being broadcast on every frequency, leaving military commanders, politicians, and civilians alike in stunned disbelief. "You're telling me," Admiral Chen's hologram flickered in Europa 7's command center, that you defeated the most advanced alien armada in known space with Christmas decorations? That's affirmative, Admiral, Blackwood replied, standing at attention despite the string of tinsel Thompson had draped over his shoulders. Though I should mention that our consultant was instrumental in the operation's success. Nick, who was teaching a group of fascinated Crix engineers how to build quantum-enhanced snow globes, gave a cheerful wave to the hologram. Just doing my part for peace on Earth, and everywhere else, it seems. The Admiral's expression cycled through disbelief, confusion, and finally resignation. I'm assuming this consultant is the reason why we're getting reports of Christmas trees sprouting on Mars colonies that were under Crix control. Ah, yes, Nick said, joining the conversation. The quantum-entangled tinsel does have a tendency to spread. Think of it as a chain reaction of Christmas cheer. Speaking of which, you might want to warn the lunar base, they should be experiencing their first white Christmas in about. He checked what appeared to be a pocket watch made of crystallized starlight. 3, 2, 1. The Admiral's hologram flickered as new reports flooded in. The lunar base, recently a stronghold of Crix occupation, was now experiencing a localized snowfall inside its domes. The snow, upon analysis, proved to be made of quantum-stabilized water crystals that somehow carried the scent of peppermint. This is unprecedented, the Admiral muttered. The entire war could be over because of Christmas. Oh, it's more than just ending the war, Cookie chimed in, excitement bubbling in her voice. Show them what we discovered about the Crix neural network, Pixels. Lieutenant Martinez pulled up a complex holographic display showing the transformed alien ship's neural patterns. The Christmas quantum field didn't just affect their technology, it fundamentally altered their consciousness. The Crix aren't just celebrating Christmas, they're evolving because of it. The display showed the formerly rigid, hierarchical neural patterns of the Crix collective mind transforming into something new. The introduction of Christmas memories, emotions, and most importantly, the ability to believe in magic, had created new neural pathways that were reshaping their entire society. It's quite remarkable, Nick explained, adjusting his spectacles as he studied the display. Their biological technology was so focused on adaptation and improvement that when exposed to the concept of Christmas, their entire species began adapting to incorporate its principles. Joy, generosity, wonder, these aren't just emotions to them now, they're evolutionary advantages. The implications are staggering, Pixels added. We're seeing similar transformations in every Crix ship and colony across the solar system. They're not just celebrating Christmas, they're becoming a new species that has Christmas written into their very DNA. Evidence of this transformation was appearing everywhere. The Crix-feared bioorganic technology, once used solely for warfare, was being repurposed in astounding ways. Their ships were developing the ability to generate pockets of Christmas cheer in quantum space. Their neural networks were spontaneously composing new Christmas carols that incorporated quantum harmonics. Even their fearsome battle drones were being transformed into something like mechanical elves, now focused on manufacturing toys and spreading joy. But how do we know this is permanent? Admiral Chen asked, ever the strategist. How can we be sure this isn't some kind of elaborate deception? Because, Nick said softly, they've learned the most powerful force in the universe, the ability to believe in something greater than themselves. And once you truly believe in Christmas. He gestured to a nearby viewport, where a Crix ship was teaching human children how to make zero-gravity snow angels, there's no going back. The evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. Across the solar system, former battlefields were transforming into celebrations. The rings of Saturn were being decorated with quantum light displays. The ice caves of Europa were becoming a winter wonderland that put Earth's North Pole to shame. And perhaps most remarkably, the Crix were showing humans how to use their bioorganic technology to make dreams come true, literally. They've started calling themselves the Christmas Celebration Society now, Cookie reported, reading from her tablet. They're requesting permission to establish cultural exchange programs with every human colony. Apparently, they're particularly interested in something called ugly sweater parties. And the workshop integration is proceeding better than expected, Nick added proudly. Their bioorganic fabrication technology combines quite nicely with Christmas magic. We've already developed a new line of toys that can adapt to what children want even before they know they want it. But it wasn't just the Cricks who were being transformed. As news of the Christmas miracle spread, humanity was changing too. The revelation that Christmas magic was real, and scientifically verifiable, was causing a renaissance of wonder and belief across human space. Scientists were studying quantum Christmas phenomena with childlike enthusiasm. Military strategists were rewriting doctrines to include the tactical applications of joy. And children everywhere were delighted to learn that Santa Claus was not only real but had apparently been advancing his technology alongside humanity's space program. "We're getting reports from the outer colonies," Thompson announced from his security station, which now featured a wreath made of repurposed targeting sensors. "The quantum Christmas field is spreading faster than we anticipated. Even the mining outposts on Titan are reporting spontaneous outbreaks of caroling." "Ah yes," Nick nodded sagely. "The quantum entanglement of holiday spirit. Once it starts, it's rather difficult to contain. Though I should mention," he added with a twinkle in his eye, "you might want to warn the asteroid belt colonists. Their rocks are about to get much more festive." As if on cue, new reports began flooding in. The asteroid belt, once a dangerous maze of spinning rocks and debris, was transforming into what could only be described as a cosmic Christmas tree lot. Each asteroid was developing its own unique holiday light display, creating a spectacular string of Christmas lights stretching across the solar system. "This is either the greatest breakthrough in human history," Admiral Chen's hologram said slowly, "or the most elaborate mass hallucination ever recorded." "Why not both?" Nick suggested cheerfully. "After all, the best kind of Christmas magic is the kind that makes you question whether it's magic at all." As the command center of Europa 7 continued to monitor the spreading Christmas transformation, Cookie suddenly noticed something on her screens. "Sir. You might want to see this. We're picking up signals from beyond the Kuiper Belt. Something big is coming. More Crick ships." Thompson asked, though his candy cane rifle remained casually propped against his console. "No," Pixels replied, her eyes wide as she analyzed the readings. "These signatures, they're completely different. Almost like..." "Ah," Nick said, a knowing smile spreading beneath his white beard. "It seems the galaxy has more surprises in store. After all, humans and Cricks aren't the only species who need a little Christmas cheer. The greatest gift." The mysterious signals from beyond the Kuiper Belt grew stronger, and with them came something unprecedented, a cascade of quantum phenomena that made Nick's eyes light up with recognition and delight. Well, he chuckled, checking his crystalline pocket watch. "Right on schedule. You know what's coming?" Blackwood asked, watching as the sensor readings defied every known law of physics. "Let's just say," Nick replied with a twinkle in his eye, "that humanity and the Cricks aren't the only ones who celebrate their own version of Christmas. The universe, Captain, is far more festive than anyone ever imagined." As if to prove his point, space itself seemed to ripple like wrapping paper being unfolded. Massive ships began emerging from what looked like tears in reality, but these weren't like anything humans or Cricks had ever seen. Each vessel seemed to be made of living light, their forms shifting between different cultural interpretations of celebration and joy. "Sir," Pixels reported, her voice filled with wonder, "we're receiving transmissions in every language ever recorded. And some that haven't been invented yet." The messages flooded their communication systems, each one carrying the same theme in countless variations: peace, joy, celebration, and unity. The new arrivals called themselves the Galactic Celebration Consortium, ancient species who had long ago discovered what humanity and the Cricks were just learning, that the power of belief, joy, and celebration was woven into the very fabric of the universe. You see, Nick explained as the spectacular ships took position around the solar system, creating a display that made their previous light show look like a simple string of bulbs. Every civilization eventually discovers their own version of Christmas. Some call it the quantum awakening, others the transcendence of joy, but it all comes down to the same thing, the moment when a species realizes that celebration and wonder are not just emotional responses, but fundamental forces of reality. Cookie, who was analyzing the alien ship's energy signatures, gasped in realization. Their technology, it's like yours, Nick. But also different, like Christmas songs in different keys. Precisely. Nick beamed. What you call Christmas magic is just one expression of a universal constant. Every species discovers their own way to tap into it. The Andromedans use crystallized starlight to spread joy, the Pleiadians harness the quantum properties of celebration itself, and the Cricks, well, they were always meant to discover it through their adaptive biology. The consortium ships began sharing their knowledge, transmitting vast libraries of celebratory science and festive technology. The Cricks' bioorganic systems proved exceptionally adept at integrating these new concepts, their entire civilization evolving in real time to embrace their role as guardians of celebration. This is what you were working toward all along, wasn't it? Blackwood asked Nick, watching as former enemies became partners in spreading joy across the galaxy. Christmas has always been about bringing people together, Nick replied. I just had to wait until humanity was ready to understand that people includes a much bigger family than they imagined. The transformation of the solar system continued at an astonishing pace. The consortium shared technologies that turned the harsh environments of space into wonderlands of celebration. Mars bloomed with quantum-enhanced forests decorated with everlasting lights. Venus's toxic atmosphere was converted into swirling patterns of beautiful aurora. Even the asteroid belt was stabilized into a permanent celestial light show. But the greatest changes were happening within the hearts and minds of both humans and Cricks. The quantum field of celebration was reshaping their consciousness, not by changing who they were, but by helping them recognize who they could be. The readings are extraordinary, Pixels reported, monitoring the neural patterns of both species. It's like every positive emotion is being quantum entangled across the entire solar system. People aren't just feeling joy, they're sharing it on a subatomic level. And the best part, Cookie added excitedly, is that it's self-sustaining. The celebration is actually generating its own quantum energy field. It's like Christmas magic? Thompson suggested with a grin. Actually, Nick corrected gently, it's like life itself. Joy, wonder, celebration, these aren't just things we do. They're integral parts of the universe, as fundamental as gravity or light. Humanity just needed a little reminder. As if to demonstrate his point, the consortium ships began a demonstration that would be remembered for generations. In perfect harmony with both human Christmas carols and alien celebration songs, they transformed the entire solar system into a symphony of light and energy. Each planet and moon became part of a vast celestial celebration, their orbits synchronized to create patterns of mathematical beauty that brought tears of joy to everyone who witnessed them. But what happens now? Blackwood asked, watching as his small outpost became a nexus point for interstellar celebration. Where do we go from here? Nick's eyes twinkled with the light of distant stars. That, my friend, is the greatest gift of all, the future. Humanity and the Cricks have taken their first steps into a larger universe, one where celebration and joy are not just emotions, but tools for exploring the deepest mysteries of existence. He reached into his bag one last time, pulling out what looked like a simple Christmas ornament. But as he held it up, everyone could see the entire galaxy reflected in its surface, countless points of light representing civilizations celebrating in their own unique ways. You see, every species eventually learns this truth, the universe itself is an endless celebration of existence. Your job now is to join the party, and help others find their way to it. As if to punctuate his words, the quantum field of celebration pulsed with new energy. Across the solar system, humans and Cricks found themselves working together, combining their technologies and cultures in ways that would have seemed impossible just days ago. The Christmas miracle had become something far greater, a celebration of life itself, echoing across the cosmos. "So," Cookie asked, watching as a group of Cricks engineers taught human children how to create quantum snowflakes, "does this mean you'll need help delivering presents to the whole galaxy now?" Nick laughed, a sound that seemed to carry the joy of countless Christmases past and future. "My dear, I believe we're all going to be very busy spreading joy across the stars. After all," he added with a wink, "the universe is very big, and there are so many wonderful celebrations to share." As the crew of Europa 7 watched their small outpost become a beacon of interstellar celebration, they realized that their Christmas miracle had been just the beginning. The greatest gift hadn't been saving humanity, or even finding peace with the Cricks, it had been the discovery that the universe itself was full of wonder, just waiting to be unwrapped like the greatest Christmas present of all. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, bells jingled, children laughed, and joy spread at quantum speeds, as the greatest Christmas celebration in history continued to unfold across the stars.